everyone, and welcome to another episode of Happening Now with me, Tim. This past week has been rough, to say the least, from the multiple mass shootings that happened over the weekend to a video of a police officer killing a 13-year-old boy, and then not even a week later, a video of an officer killing a 16-year-old girl, to ex-President George W. Bush calling Republicans today, quote, isolationists, protectionists, and to a certain extent, nativists, otherwise known as white supremacists. All of which has left the nation scared, unbelievably heartbroken, and weirdly agreeing with the points of views of George W. Bush. But there was a slight bit of good news.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty.
That's right. The man that we all watched kill George Floyd is going to prison for killing George Floyd. And though it was hopefully a landmark change when it comes to the support for Black lives here in the US, it's also a great reminder of how messed up everything is, because here's the thing. We had video evidence, multiple witnesses, and professionals testify to the fact that what we saw actually happened, and still most Americans, especially Black Americans, still stressed about a murderer getting off because of the profession he works in. Having said all that, I do think that those that are most affected by this deserve some time to sit back, enjoy, and reflect on what true accountability looks like. And for the rest of us that empathize with what they're going through, we have to keep fighting. This is simply a beginning, a brief and beautiful look into what could be moving forward in this country when it comes to protecting Black lives and holding a system accountable for the lives that it takes. If you are able to, please keep donating to the Black Lives Matter movement, the ACLU, or any other organization that helps various communities of color around the US or around the world. And now for an early Tim Time break. Moving on. Let's get ourselves off this dumb rock and head all the way over to the colder, redder rock called Mars, where on April 16th, the helicopter Ingenuity took off, becoming one of the first flights on another planet. Just watch this breathtaking flight that it had. Okay, I know, not as dope as Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible film, but still pretty nuts. The helicopter flew for about 40 seconds and went about 10 feet above the Martian surface. NASA reported that the helicopter Ingenuity can fly about 4 more times before its mission is complete. This helicopter in particular was merely a test to get an idea on the possibility of flying on Mars, and the results have left scientists excited for the future exploration of the planet with bigger and better helicopters. And because of that breakthrough, I am convinced the Mission Impossible 32 will have some sort of we need to chase this guy through the galaxy moment that a 92-year-old Tom Cruise will insist needs to be shot on Mars. And I'm 100% gonna watch it. Moving on to our last story, we dive into the progress of the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. This past Wednesday, the Biden administration announced that it had passed 200 million vaccines in their first 92 days in office. Good, right? Well, yes, of course. But also, no. Because even as the US opens up vaccine appointments to everybody 16 and older, there's still a good chunk of people that are hesitant to get it. Some of this hesitancy is created by various problems from political beliefs to religious beliefs to a pause on distribution of some vaccines. What we will dive into today is how big those problems are, how it will affect the timeline. It's either going to barely affect the timeline or we'll be in this until 2035. Fun. and what we can do moving forward to give ourselves the best chances of moving past this pandemic. Now, there was a CNN article that showed in some rural areas, people are waiting because they wanted to see what happens to vaccinated people long term, which is super understandable. In addition to that, there are people that are just having trouble getting to vaccination sites. Some people just don't have the means or frankly the time to get vaccinated. Now, just for understanding, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the US's leading infectious disease expert, stated that between 70 and 85% of people need to get vaccinated or have had the virus before reaching the level of herd immunity, which would effectively end the pandemic. But here's the thing, we are currently on a ticking clock. There have been variations of the virus that are far more contagious being reported not only here in the US, but around the world. So if we don't get up to that herd immunity level soon, things could get a lot worse, which is almost impossible to imagine. So just don't. There is currently no firm date for when we have to hit that level of herd immunity, but the quicker the better. Most researchers feel with the information they have now that if herd immunity could be reached by the end of summer or early fall, then it's possible to avoid huge issues with the new variants. Knowing that, we need to do a better job at encouraging everybody who might be on the fence to get a vaccine as soon as they can. Now, there are some that just don't want to get it, and there's nothing you can do to change their minds. Sad, I know, but don't waste your time with them. We all need to focus on those with real concerns, like its long-term effects, their inability to physically get to a location because of lack of time or for lack of transportation. For those, help them out. Be as patient as you can, and try to hear their concerns. If you can, help set up appointments for family members or friends that might not have the time or ability to do so. For the next few months, we are going to need to start looking out for others once we are fully vaccinated. Think of it like those airplane masks that drop down where you secure yourself and then you secure the baby or really drunk person next to you. There is still a lot that needs to be done, and we're going to have to work together to get there. But once we are, drinks are on me. Woo! See, I can say that because only 12 people watch my video, and of those 12, only 3 get to the end. So that line, in theory, should cost me $15 max. Anyways, that is our show for the week. Thank you so much for watching. Just so you know, there will not be a video coming out next week as I will be getting my second vaccine shot on Thursday. But we'll have one coming out the following week, and I hope to see you then. Have a great weekend, everybody. Cheerio!